Brianna Westbrook is running for Trent Frank's old seat. I love that it's Trent Frank's old seat. He's one of the worst congressmen we had. He's a Republican from Arizona. And today it was big news that Chelsea Manning's running for senator in Maryland. And Brianna is good friends with Chelsea. So perfect timing. Brianna, welcome to Rebel Headquarters.
Glad to be here.
All right, great. So Brianna, let me talk to you first about your race, and before we get to the Republicans, let's talk about who you are. Why did you decide to get involved in politics? What did you do before, and what made you enter this race in the first place?
Well, what made me enter this race was just I got sick and tired of sitting on the sidelines and waiting for a hero for the people to really stand up and be a champion for the issues that we talk about every single election cycle that seem to be constantly repeating itself. And what I did is I originally got into this thinking I was going to face Trent Franks, and I thought that would be the biggest stage possible to make the most amount of change socially and economically to the entire nation with my candidacy. So I felt like I needed to get involved and do more. I've never been in politics. My background is not that of a stereotypical politician. I didn't go to Yale, Harvard. More or less, I grew up in the hard knocks. I grew up in severe poverty, made my way through multiple levels of social and economic classes, which makes me an authentic voice for the people.
What were you doing before the race? Because you're relatively young. I mean, you could have gone in a lot of different, and you're very young compared to me, but you could have gone in a lot of different directions career-wise. So what were you up to?
Well, for the last almost 12 years, I've been in the automotive sales industry. I've worked at my current dealership for some time. The average turnover rate in my business is about 90 days. I've thrived for over a decade in two genders. I say that because I'm actually also transgender. I don't identify it openly often, but those who know me and have been following our candidacy do know that I am trans.
Yeah, and so part of the reason I ask you that is because I'm curious. The other reason is because with a lot of the Just Democrats, you guys are real folks working real jobs. There's no millionaires and billionaires here. You're working a car dealership, and bless their hearts, by the way, what they cared about was how many cars you sold, and not what gender you were.
Exactly.
So, and I think that they found you guys because you actually genuinely care, and you showed that you cared. What were the things you were working on politically while having that day job? The things that animated you?
Well, the things that animated me were just LGBT rights. After transition, there's no rights to protect the transgender community here in Arizona, and we got the no promo homo laws here in our schools. So I've actively, since transition, been fighting for civil rights for the LGBT community, but I've never been on the forefront. I've never ran for office. This is the first time I've ever done it. Definitely not the last. This is what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life.
I'm sure that there are other Democrats in the race. Now that Franks is going, they've got to be the establishment's probably pretty excited. So why vote for Brianna Westbrook rather than other Democrats in this race?
Well, why vote for me? It's because I'm going to be an authentic voice for the people. Over the course of the last year, I've been investing in people and not money, because I believe that's what we should be investing in as politicians and leaders in our community. I am standing up for things that are important to everyday families. I want people to see my candidacy as a reflection of themselves. The issues on my platform hit home with just about every single family here in the district, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. A living wage, automatic voter registration, providing an affordable education for all, Medicare for all, renewable energy, because our high utility bills here in Arizona just keep getting increased each year. So all of the issues on the platform hit home with just about every single household. And I'm not influenced by money. I'm not bought, and no special interest groups are gonna sway my vote with the persuasion of money. I am persuaded by people, real people, hardworking people that are struggling to get by. So yeah, I am a voice for real people.
That's why I love these Just Democratic candidates, and the staff worked super hard to find just the right people to run in these races. They are the unbought. They're the uncorrupted. There's no corporate PAC money. They're not serving anyone but you. And Brianna, I don't know if these are in order of priorities, but looking at your website, looking at your priorities, So of course you care about transgender rights, LGBT rights, as you explained. That's what you're working on. But you've got fighting for Medicare for all and a livable wage at the very top. I feel like a lot of times, whether it's Danica Rome or others, the rest of the media assumes that that's your number one issue. So, you mentioned all those other issues there, and so to what degree are you animated by those issues? Do you have a sense of priorities here? Like, for example, for me, I think corruption is the most important issue. That's why I love that you guys are on board. So give me a sense of priorities.
Well, they're all equal to me because each one of them are core values that we need to be championing. But like you said, being unbought and campaign finance reform is really like the core root. We need to focus on that because once we get that, we can really accomplish all these other things. So I applaud you on the wolf pack. Campaign finance reform is really the bread and butter. It'll make all these other things a lot easier to get through the House and put into law.
I love that you got livable wage there because people in Washington, New York don't understand. They're like, what? The stock market's up. We're all rich. No, not the people in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
And we need higher wages. We need higher wages, and people work really, really hard, and that makes a giant difference in their lives. So now, Brianna, one other thing. Normally, I wouldn't ask about this guy. I didn't even know you and Chelsea were friends, but she did announce today that she's going to run for Senate. So, did you know that Chelsea Manning was going to run for Senate? Have you guys communicated about it at all?
I knew. She told me not to say anything, so she did tell me that she was thinking about it. I knew it was in the hopper, I guess you could say. It didn't come as a surprise. She, like me, has been really fed up with the system and the way that it's been designed to shut out people's voices. So she felt that it was something she needed to do, and I applaud her.
Of course, the establishment is going to give her no chance. What do you think? Does she have a fighting chance?
I think she has a fighting chance. She's got people behind her. People are stronger than money, and people are stronger than the establishment. And that's been shown time and time again. When we rise together on causes, we can accomplish anything.
So, look, your background is partly relevant. So it's what you fight for is more important. But when you look at Chelsea Manning and the hell that they put her through, and then she comes out swinging, that matters, man. That means she's a fighter. And Brianna, you've gone through a lot in your life, whether it was the poverty that you grew up in, the difficult decisions you've made, and I'm sure the grief that you got as you were doing that. It matters that you come out of that in a fighting position and swinging and ready to fight for others. So, look, my priorities are clear. Who I'm rooting for is clear. We don't hide it on this show. So I want to give everybody the links to how they can help and donate and volunteer. They're right there. Look, time is always more important because knocking on doors and calling people and letting people know about these great candidates is the most important thing. But if you can't give time, then at least throw in small dollar donations to make a difference here. And how are you doing on your campaign in terms of volunteers and funding?
Well, volunteers have been great. I haven't held. Maybe it's something I shouldn't have been doing. I should have been doing a little earlier as fundraising. But I'm kind of ran an unconventional campaign. Since the very beginning, I've been investing in people. So I have a very giant volunteer base, not just in Arizona, but throughout the entire country. My Twitter profile, for example, has a little under 3 million impressions for the last 30 days. Because I feel that people are the forefront, and I think that people will show that we can beat money. Because poor people don't know rich people, rich people know rich people, so it's a lot more difficult for me to raise money opposed to somebody that's from wealth. So investing in people has kind of been the forefront. But my volunteer base is big. Individual contributions have increased greatly since the Justice Democrat endorsement back in November. We saw a little over 1,300 individual contributions pretty quickly. So I encourage everybody, if they could though, to donate just small dollar amount. No donation is too small because it all adds up in numbers.
And look, at least Chelsea's got big name recognition. But the biggest challenges for people like Brianna is getting their name out there. And sometimes you do that by knocking on doors and making the calls, and that's why volunteers are so important. Sometimes you do that by raising money. So Brianna Westbrook running in Arizona. All the links are down below in the description box on YouTube and in the comment section on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us and for fighting the good fight.
Thank you so much.